New research published by a Dairy NZ scientist will eventually lead to farmers being able to breed animals with greater fertility. Scientist and PhD student Caroline Walker looks into the molecular events which happen during a cow's early pregnancy. By comparing the genes of pregnant cows with those that aren't, Ms. Walker has been able to find out which genes in the uterus are doing what during the pregnancy.
So what we found is there were a few hundred genes that were differentially expressed between fertile and subfertile animals. So what this means is they just have different levels of activity. So for example, a fertile animal produced more of one gene than a subfertile animal, and this gene might be really important for the pregnancy to be maintained.
But Ms. Walker found it wasn't just the genes that changed during pregnancy.
And so the other thing that we found is that these chemical modifications that occur on the DNA strand were also different between these two groups of animals. So the really interesting part of this is that we can manipulate this through the diet to change these epigenetic marks, and with the genetics we can select for animals that produce more of these genes that produce a better outcome for pregnancy.
Having identified candidate genes, Ms. Walker can now look at the variation in the genes.
Once we've identified variants, we can then use those in breeding programs where you can select for animals that are going to be more fertile as opposed to less fertile. The second bit, the epigenetics, that will be something where we can both select for it and we could also make changes on farm. So if we can identify, say, a nutrient that changes the epigenetic profile of an animal that causes genes to be expressed in a better way, then we can improve reproductive outcome in that way.
In a nutshell, Caroline Walker says her work is all about striving to make sure New Zealand's farmers have world-class genetic information available to them.
My research is molecular based, so I don't go on a dairy farm and do any kind of management of a dairy farm. I leave that up to people that know more about dairy farming than I do. So basically my research is all about giving farmers, I guess, the best. So farmers can do their best on a farm, but if they're not given the best raw materials, then they're never going to achieve excellence. So we're looking at if we can identify the best cows and give them the tools to have the best cows, the best genetics, then they can apply all the excellent farming techniques and they can really succeed. So I guess that's basically what I try to do.
And you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's very cool. Science is cool.
Benedict Collins, Country 99 TV News.